Good morning, everyone. We welcome you all once again. Today we have Dr. Dharmendra Kumar Yadav. Dr. Dharmendra Kumar Yadav is presently working as Assistant Professor at Department of Statistics and Demography, National Institute of Health and Family Welfare, New Delhi. Dr. Yadav did his MSc and PhD from Department of Statistics, University of Lucknow. His field of specialization is sampling theory, computational statistics, and public health. Dr. Yadav has also worked as Senior Research Fellow at Sample Survey Division, Indian Agricultural Statistics Research Institute, New Delhi, and has teaching experience of more than 5 years in various universities of India. So today, sir, will be talking on application of e-learning in higher education. Over to you, sir.
Hello.
Ha, sir. Over to
Uh,
you.
will I start?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thanks, Rukma. I'm sharing my screen. Please enable my sharing screen because it's showing that host disabled participant screen sharing.
होस्ट सर साहिल सर
साहिल सर को प्लीज कहिए कि वो मेरी स्क्रीन जो है
हाँ
शेयरिंग
श्योर 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 साहिल सर देखिए यहाँ इनेबल हुआ साहिल सर
कॉल कर दी क्या सर?
हाँ हो गया.
ओके
Is it visible?
या यू कैन कंटिन्यू
Yeah, any problem?
No, no, no. Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Dharmendra Yadav from NHFW. First of all, I convey my heartiest gratitude to the organizers of this induction training program of Ramanujan College for giving me this opportunity. The topic of my presentation is today, applications of machine learning techniques for e-learning in higher education. So I will talk about some, advanced techniques which AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learnings have their applications in the e-learning. So first of all, we talk about the artificial intelligence. As we all hear about the artificial intelligence, so this 21st century is an era of artificial intelligence. Everything can be simulated by using artificial intelligence techniques without human intervention. It means you can simulate any phenomena, natural phenomena, with the help of machines without human intervention. And on the basis of that, we get some experience and we make some prediction about that phenomena. Means, uh, so artificial intelligence can be defined as, so it refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimics like their actions. Means when machines are acting like human minds, that this phenomena is called artificial intelligence. The term may also be applied any machine that exhibits traits associated with the human mind, such as learning and problem solving. It means you can give any problem to the particular problem to the machine and it will solve as a human mind. So there are some very, daily used examples of artificial intelligence on our daily life. Suppose we want to go somewhere like and we want to ride a Ola, Uber or any cab, or particularly a GPS, global positioning system, by using the Google Map. So it's Google Map is nothing only a part of AI, artificial intelligence, where all the locations are saved according to their according to their points, their locations, and we get access by these GPS by using the artificial intelligence. The another very first example, which is very widely used nowadays, that is the Google Assistant. Google Assistant is a very fine example of artificial intelligence in which you can say anything and it convert your voice, it recognize your voice and convert it to machine language and act in your own way. So it's a Google Assistant. There are very nowadays in India or democratic countries like India and other where the, you know, elections are being done. So people and doing very, you know, very politicians do the sentiment analysis using the social media data. As in our daily life, we like or dislike, or dislike is not there, you like or anything, any expressions in your social media, and on the basis of that, there a person who is recording your sentiments and doing the sentiment analysis, and on the basis of that, the policymakers or politicians make their strategies to win the election. So there is a sentiment analysis, and it's a very common example, that is Alexa and Siri. You all know about that. Alexa is sponsored by Amazon, in which you can say, Alexa, play my music, Alexa, play my Hindi music, play some ghazals and like that. And Alexa will recognize your voice and convert it into the machine language and play your favorite music. Similarly, Siri works. So these are the very popular examples of artificial intelligence. There are some other examples are GPS, dating apps. There are so many dating apps nowadays. TV movie streaming like Netflix, music streaming, restaurant bar review, job search apps like LinkedIn, news apps like Facebook and others. So these are some fine examples of artificial intelligence in our daily lives. So now we come to the machine learning. What is the machine learning? Actually, machine learning is nothing only subfield of artificial intelligence. It means it comes under the artificial intelligence domain. The machine learning is a subfield of artificial intelligence defined by Arthur Samuel, is a field of study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. Means it makes the machine able to recognize or learn themselves without any human intervention. It learns any pattern on the previous data and makes some prediction about that experience. So machine learn themselves also. So in this diagram, you can say AI, ML, and DL, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. These three are widely used. You can define them just like artificial intelligence is nothing when a machine is able to mimic human intelligence by having the ability to predict, classify, learn, plan, reason, and pursue. Means the robotics is a very fine example of artificial intelligence. He can act like a human being. This comes under the artificial intelligence. Now machine learning is a subfield of AI, artificial intelligence, in which we incorporate some mathematical and statistical models to learn from the past data itself and improve with experience. It means when we incorporate some statistical or mathematical models with the data, previous data, and make it for the prediction, then this is called machine learning. And deep learning is more advanced, and it's a subfield of machine learning. It is a subfield of machine learning that uses neural networks to solve even more complex challenges, such as image, audio, and video classification. So just like Alexa and Siri, these are the example of deep learning, because they recognize your voice, they recognize your image. Just like Facebook, if you uploaded your pics with your friends, then certain recommendations will be given by the Facebook itself, that this and this, if you want to tag them. So how can it be done? Because Facebook recognize those images of your friends. That's why they are suggesting to tag them. So it's an example of deep learning. So how does machine learning work? What is the working phenomena of this machine learning? So first of all, we input the data, and on the basis of some statistical methods, this machine will analyze the data, find certain insights, and find the patterns which is available in the data. And on the basis of that pattern, it will be used for the prediction on the basis of previous data. And on the basis of this prediction, we get some feedback, and this feedback will be further used for the policy making or for the further prediction. So this will work phenomena of machine learning. So different types of machine learning. There are three types of machine learning is there. One is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So what is the supervised learning? Supervised learning is nothing, only it is based on some input and output variables. This learning process is defined by identifying patterns that relate variables to measure output based on certain inputs. It means you have to input certain variables, certain things to get some output. For example, an automatically fitted regression model, including any form of generalized linear model, is a supervised learning. Means you have to put some input variables in a model, and on the basis of some formula on the model, we get some output variables. So in this picture, you can say that we input the images of apple, but machine don't know whether it is an apple or banana. Okay, so we, on the basis of some its color, its size, its weight, we will train our data set, our machine, that if its color is red, if its weight is this, if its shape is this, so it will be apple. So we train our machine. Actually, in our machine learning, we if you have 100% data, then 80% data will be used for the training purpose to train the machine, and 20% will be used for the testing purpose. So we train our machine to recognize this image, and further, if we input an image of apple, then machine will definitely say that this is an apple. How can it say? Because on the previous training experiences, because it has been trained that on the basis of size, color, and weight, it will be an apple. So this is example of supervised learning, because there is some input and some training, and it will give the output. So the most important supervised learning techniques are classification and regression. You all heard about these in statistics domain. That is, classification means some input, just like in our health example, like there are some symptoms that will be input variables. Like if you have swelling, if you have fever, if you have cough, then these will be classified as you as a deceased or non-deceased person. So this is classification, because we give some input, and on the basis of that input, we get classification. And the other example is regression. So regression is nothing, only used for the input variables to predict some phenomena. We get some inputs, and on the basis of that inputs, we get output, and to predict. Forecasting. Regression is basically used for the prediction and forecasting. So these are some supervised learning techniques. What is the unsupervised learning? So this type of learning uses the input data set to detect trends and patterns without explicit designation of any column as the outcome of the interest. Means in unsupervised learning, we have only the input data and we don't have output column, just like in supervised learning. So we have input data, and we, on the basis of some predefined criteria, we recognize a pattern that data follows. Like there are two unsupervised are clustering and association rule mining. Means you have a data, and on the basis of certain properties, qualities, we make some clusters. There is no output variable, but we have trends and pattern. So unsupervised learning is used for the recognizing the trend and pattern in the data. So with this example, we can differentiate between supervised and unsupervised machine learning. In the first example, supervised learning, there is some input data, and intuition means we have defined on some, I have previously said that on the basis of color, shape, weight, and taste, we can recognize that these are the apples, and we fit a model in our machine, and on the basis of that, if we input this image again, then the prediction will be it is an apple. The machine will say that it is an apple. This is supervised learning. In unsupervised learning, there are some input data, means there are some combinations of apple, banana, and other fruits. So we have three types of fruits images. Actually, we have three types of images in our input data. So model in machine will classify, machine will show the trend or cluster in their output variable. Like there is a cluster of same types of images are apple, same types of banana. So same time images will be given by the output. So this is unsupervised learning. Here is input and the output is nothing, only the input and variable. These are the trend and patterns of the data. The third one is reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is, it's a combination of supervised and unsupervised learning. This type of learning gives feedback to algorithm when it does something right or wrong. It will be our output variable be reinforced. Like, for example, in this figure, we have input variables, we have image, and the machine will say, recognize it, it's a mango. It is our response. It's a response of machine actually. So our feedback, on the basis of feedback or previous data, previous experience, we will say the machine, no, you are wrong, it's an apple. Then machine will note it that the previous image is not mango, it's a apple. So when we again input the image in the machine, then it will say that it is an apple. So it is called as reinforced response. These are some machine learning applications in our daily life. As I have told you that social media, there are sentiment analysis is done. On the basis of that, various marketing and political plans are made. In the transport, there was safety monitoring, air traffic control. You can see whether traffic is there in a particular route or not by using the machine learning techniques. Some financial services. In our financial service, the most appropriate, most popular example is fraud detection of credit cards. So fraud detection techniques are used to classify whether this person is trustworthy or not. This will be given loan or not. So this will recognize as a fraud detection by using certain machine learning techniques. In healthcare, it will be used for the drug discovery, disease diagnosis, robotic surgery. So in healthcare, various diseases are diagnosis. Actually, very fast diagnosis will be done by the machine learning techniques. This is used for the e-commerce. There are so many commercial apps like Amazon, Flipkart. They all use the customer support, product recommendations, advertising by using these machine learning techniques. So virtual assistant, I have earlier told you that just like a Google Assistant. So these are some fine examples of machine learning in our daily life that are used. So now we come to the e-learning. So e-learning is nothing, only the application of technology for the learning purpose, for the education. So e-learning is an approach to teaching and learning, representing all or part of the educational model applied, that is based on the use of electronic media and devices as tools for improving access to training, communication, and interaction, and that facilitate the adoption of new ways of understanding and developing learnings. Means you are incorporating the technology to learn new educational institutes or for the learning purpose. So this is called e-learning. There are some characteristics of e-learning. Number one is access. This feature describes how this e-learning is accessed, how any course or module online program will be accessed. So it can be accessed by online or offline mode. Online means you need some internet connection. Students can learn using their computers, laptops, phones, or any other device that can be connected to the internet. Online features make it easier for students to learn anytime and anywhere. But it can be accessed offline mode also. How can you say that? Because the matter which you prepare can be taken in the CD, DVD, USB, or any other external device. But this limits the students to use computers and laptops to access the information, because they can use only that information that is given to them in their external devices. So it will restrict the learner from using internet and interrupt the studying. So it can be accessed, e-learning can be accessed in online and offline both modes. The second feature is student count. Student count means this character describes whether students can interact among themselves or not. So it can be individual and group both. So learners do not relate with each other. Each student only interacts with the course instructor and does all the work on the individual basis. This can help the student move at his or her own pace. However, this will limit the peer knowledge sharing process that can help students learn faster. It means they cannot interact with each other, some other students. It's an individual approach. But there are some platforms in the e-learning like discussion forums, emails, chat rooms, in which they can discuss their problems with the other participants. So this encourages peer knowledge sharing between students. However, it might discourage some students when they feel that the course or program pace doesn't match their own. The third feature is time. This time can be synchronous or asynchronous. So synchronous means involve the online studying and teaching in the same time. Content is delivered at the same time. Students attend class at the same time via conference calls, teleconferencing. So this style mimics a real life class. It means in our real life, just like a real life class, there are teachers which teach the students, and students note down their notes or any material which the teacher told them. So it can be a synchronous type of work. So asynchronous means content is available to the access at any time by the students. Forums and discussions boards are offered for students to interact with instructors or with each other. It means later on students can interact with the instructor, and they can download their PDF files or videos to learn later. So this is asynchronous. So content format, this character describes the contents format. So how the material or study content will be, it will be static and dynamic both. Static, the format is the same and the content remains the same throughout the course. This type ensures consistency and easily maintained. However, this might isolate some students as might not serve their needs. And it will be dynamic. The format changes and adapts based on student behavior or knowledge obtaining level. This type caters more to the wants and needs to the students, as it tries to modify the content regarding the feedback and data gathered from the students. Means we take the feedbacks from the students, and on those feedbacks, we change our learning pattern, we change our content according to the pace of students' learning. The use of electronic device and internet technologies is increasing with time. E-learning makes a lot of things possible, especially for the learners to learn anytime and anywhere online their own. So there are certain applications of machine learning techniques which are used for the e-learning technology. Because in this, COVID-19 pandemic period, lockdown period, e-learning is the only course which can be used for the education. So these machine learning techniques can be used for the prediction. There is an example of any University of Petros, Greece. There is a professor, Sotrais Kotrans, is a mathematics professor. First of all, he described our emerging field of educational data mining. He explored using students' key demographic characteristic data and grading data in a small number of written assignments as the data set. And on the basis of that data set, there is a demographic characteristics and these are grading data. And on the basis of that, he developed a machine learning regression method that can be used to predict a student's future performance. It means they can use this data, their demographic characteristics of the data and grading data. And on the basis of that, he predicted a student's future performance, how the student will perform in the future. In a similar way, there is Australia's largest open government and open data hackathon included several projects in the education space, including a project that aims to develop a prediction model that can be used by educators, schools, and policymakers to predict the risk of a student to drop out of school. Means this can be very much used for the prediction purpose. This machine learning techniques can be used for the prediction purpose. So on the basis of these examples, IBM's vision of a smart classroom come into existence. So smart classrooms, cloud-based learning systems that can be help teachers identify students who are most at risk of dropping out, why they are struggling, as well as provide insight into the interventions needed to overcome their learning challenges. So the concept of a smart classroom comes into the existence. And the other example, other application of machine learning in education is process efficiency. Process efficiency means it can be used to schedule a class, grading of the students, and organizing the classes. So several machine learnings for education, ICML, is International Machine Learning Conference workshops have explored novel machine learning applications designed to benefit the education community, such as learning analytics. It's a widely used nowadays. So learning analytics. So learning analytics is nothing. It will build the statistical models of student knowledge to provide computerized and personalized feedback on learning the students' progress and their instructors. So on the basis of this learning analytics means we analyze the learning capabilities of the students and feedback about the teachers, instructors. This is called learning analytics. The second one is content analysis. So machine learning can be used for the content analysis that organizes and optimizes content items like assessments, textbook sections, lecture videos. So how we can prepare our content, this will analyze. The third one is scheduling algorithm. Scheduling means how can we schedule our class. That search for an optimal and adapted teaching policy that helps students learn more efficiently. The fourth is grading system. The most important application of machine learning is used in grading system. So on the basis of previous example, previous knowledge, previous marks, we can grade in the future. Just like in our nowadays in the lockdown session, various sessions are, there are no final exams are conducted. Annual exams are not conducted, and universities are directed to grade or upgrade the students on their previous performance. So in this, our grading system, for this grading system, these machine learning techniques will be applied and will be more helpful for the grading of the students on their past performance. The fifth one is cognitive psychology, where data mining is becoming a powerful tool to validate the theories developed in cognitive science and facilitate the development of new theories to improve the learning process and knowledge retention. Active learning and experimental design, which adaptively select assessments and other learning resources for each student individually to enhance learning efficiency. It means we can experiment which learning technique is useful or not on the basis of some machine learning previous examples. So there are some existing platforms for machine learning, e-learning. Means these are certain softwares or certain apps which are made for the e-learning in which machine learning techniques is applied. So recently, digital education venture capitalist Tom Winder Ark shared 8 different areas where leading edge platforms are already leveraging machine learning in education. So for the content analytics, there are two platforms, that is Guru, IBM Watson Content Analytics. They can be used. And for the learning analytics, Dreambox, adaptive learning systems can be used for the Dreambox, Alex, and Reasoning Mind, Newton. So these are platforms which are used for the adaptive learning systems. And game-based learning, STMath, and some other. In the dynamic scheduling, matches students that need help with the teachers and have time. New Classroom, this is the platform which is used for the dynamic scheduling. And for the grading system, Pearson's Right to Learn. This is a very common platform which is used. And the most important, Turnitin, you all know about that. Turnitin software is used to detect the plagiarism. This is widely used in the research to identify the plagiarism level of the research or higher education. And the fifth one is process intelligence. This tool analyzes large amounts of structured and unstructured data, visualize workflows, and identifying new opportunities. Bright Bytes Clarity. This is a platform in enterprise resource planning systems like Zanzibar and IBM SPSS. These will help higher education institutions predict enrollment, improve financial aid, boost retention, enhancing the campus security. There are some other platforms like MyEdMatch and TeacherMatch or eHarmonic for the schools. These are the for matching teachers and schools. And for the predictive analysis, predictive analytics and data mining, some certain platforms like Map Patterns and Improve Learning are used. And there are backlog stuff, means EduLog does school the bus scheduling, Evolution, Diet Master. These are the other platforms. So the conclusion of my talk is that as the modern classroom becomes more and more digitized, we are able to gather myriad sets of data. The trick is, of course, being able to purpose it. The prize at heart of machine learning is knowledge discovery, the process of parsing through the algo of big data, identifying meaningful patterns within it, and transforming it into a structured knowledge base for the future use. So there is a database company that is True Interaction. True Interaction is a very popular for the higher education and machine learning. It provides the machine learning apps or platforms in the field of higher education. So there is a very popular statement by which you can guess the importance of machine learning techniques in the higher education. That O. Lim Wright, he is the CEO of True Interaction. His statement was, parents are continually exposed to new technology via their children, whether it be iPad app, uses tricks to the advent of robotics, competitions, and perhaps now new ways of thinking as a result of interaction with the machine learning based educational environments. So light education content may give way to a topology of learning experiences. Means there are in the future, there is a vast need of machine learning techniques which can be used in the educational environments. So we must prepare for these machine learning techniques for the higher education. Thank you, and stay safe.
Hello.
Thank you, Dharmendra sir.
I'm sorry, I could not complete time limit.
Okay, that is not a problem. Sir, now after the session, it will be a question answer session. We will handle this. If you permit, Dharmendra sir, can we do this session?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Still, participants are not asking question. They are commenting on your presentation. Nice, very informative, sir. Thank you, sir. Madhu Singh Verma is saying presentation is very fast. Please explain. So can you tell something about in your words, in very simple words, that so that they can understand easily, sir? In
Uh,
4 to 5 minutes, sir.
okay. So
Okay.
actually, these days machine learnings are widely used in the different domains, and machine learning is nothing. Only it is not used for the programming purpose, because programming is a very complicated things. Everyone cannot do the programming. If he is a social scientist, if he is a medical doctor, he cannot do the computer programming. So in the machine learning, there are certain tools which are used, which provide the direct results for the prediction purpose for your analysis. So the reason behind this is some statistical methods which are used. But any person who is not a computer, who is not a statistician, they can use these techniques in the machine learning. And there are actually machine learning techniques just like in classification. Classification, there are technique support vector machines. It is given in the R and other Python, and new decision tree approach. There are certain, these are actually methods, but when we go into very detail, there are certain methods or techniques which we can use. So by using them, we can simply analyze and get the insights from the data.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Dr. Shivaji Suryavanshi want to ask, sir, how can be ML technique will be implemented in physical education and sports.
Okay. So
Should I
these
repeat, sir?
no,
Okay,
I have got it.
okay.
Actually, in sports, on the previous based on the previous data of any player, we can recognize, we can guess, we can predict about the future performance of that player. Means we have some data about any player, in how many matches he get the sixers, centuries, and all this, and on the basis of that, we get the pattern of his performance, and in the next upcoming match, we can predict about the performance of that player. So in this way, we can use the machine learning techniques in the sports.
Thank you, sir. Next
Dharmendra.
participant Mo R is asking, is machine learning leading to cybercrime more?
Every technology has its pros and cons. So we must aware about these things. But these machine learning techniques makes our life very easy. Just like we download them, Ola, Uber, and various apps. These all are working in the machine learning technology. But there are certain chances that your mobile data will be hacked. We all know. So we have to compromise with this.
Okay, okay, sir. Priyanka Dixit is asking what is the difference between prediction and forecast? Prediction and forecast.
Okay. Forecasting, actually, it's a long term. Forecasting is used for the long term, trend or anything. We are getting some trend, and on the basis of that, we can find the pattern, and we can predict about the future, long term future. It will be a forecasting, and prediction is a very short term decision.
सचिन हम भी एक पूछ ले
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर.
What is the difference between supervised and unsupervised machine learning?
Okay, sir. Actually, in supervised learning, we have supervisor. Actually, we have some supervisor. That's why I call it is supervised. For example, we have some inputs, and we have some mathematical or any formula. Just like in regression. In regression, we have some input variables, and we have some formula or any model, and on the basis of those input, we get output. So this is supervised. It is supervised by any particular formula or particular model. This is called supervised. And unsupervised, there is a, it is not supervised by any method or any formula. It is basically we give the input to the machine, and machine itself find any pattern or what is the trend and pattern which is available in the data itself. So it is not supervised by any model or formula.
Next question is, explain how a ROC curve work.
Okay, ROC curve. I'm not getting this point. Sorry.
Hello.
Sachin, you ask.
I'm asking one question from Dr. Dharmendra.
Yes.
Minipi wants to know, please explain how effectively we could add machine learning technique in online training.
Online training, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be used. There are so many softwares, there are so many platforms which I have told in my slides that they can be used for, for the scheduling our online class and taking the feedbacks from the students, from the participants. And on the basis of those feedback, we can next restructured our online training programs accordingly. And on the basis of that, these online training programs will be much effective.
One more question.
Yes,
What is the process to do sentimental analysis? Can we do this on our software?
yeah, we can do in our software.
What is the process to do sentimental analysis?
Actually, in sentiment analysis, we count the number of likes or dislikes or anyone, and on the basis of that, we actually, the reason behind the logic behind them is some regression analysis or any statistical formula. On the basis of that, we can say that it is chi-square, that is this like or dislike is associated with some phenomena, some sentiment or not, and on the basis we can say that it is a significant or not. So
One more. Sorry. Please continue. Sir, one more question.
yeah, please.
Can so much of robotics bring life stressful and create psychological disorder?
Actually,
Can so much of robotics brings life stressful and create psychological disorder? Have you got
actually,
this?
yeah, I got it. Actually, technology has its own pros and cons. So we can use it in a manner that it will not affect the human being. Means there are certain areas like defense or medical, in which we make clinical trials, or we can do the things on the robots, and we save the life of our human beings, because if we directly use those tactics to the human being, that will be harmful. So there are certain areas in which robotics is good, not everywhere.
Dharmendra,
Yes, sir.
Upanishad is asking, with help of machine intelligence, can we know what other person is thinking?
Yeah, we can think if we get the data from that person, what he thinks about me in the past. If we have the past data, then we can forecast about his thinking about anyone's.
Means it is mandatory to we should have a past data to apply this thing now.
Yeah, yeah, of course. We have the past data and we use some techniques and the machine learn itself because because I have told that the machine will use the 80% of the data to train for its training purpose. So
Okay, sir.
first of all, we train the machine and then we can use for its prediction or any results.
Okay, so many want to ask which e-tools are very convenient in today's online teaching.
Sorry, I can't get.
Which e-tools are very convenient in today's online teaching?
There are so many. You just like we are just working in a Zoom and some other you know Google Meet, and there are so many softwares are there which can be used for the e-learning.
Okay, sir. Dipan Adhikari is asking, as a botany teacher, how can I use machine learning?
Okay, actually in machine learning, there is a inbuilt data that is called iris data. So iris is a type of plant. Okay, so we have a data set and each machine learner who start with that data set. And in that data set there are certain observations, that is the petal length, petal width, petal height of any particular flower. And on the basis of that, okay, we can classify them into 3 species of plants. So you can see the brief or description about the iris data, IRIS data. This is used in the botany.
Sir, one more question from Krishna Patel side.
Yes.
How we can apply ML in our academic activities?
Okay. ML can be used I have already told you that it can be used for the, taking the feedback and for the content, for making the content and feedbacks from the students. And by using this, we can also rank of the teachers, assess the teachers or instructors.
Okay.
Dharmendra, Reema Tyagi is asking,
Yes.
I am from mathematics.
Yeah.
Can I also learn machine learning to predict learning analytics?
Yes. The thing is only that you have to take you must have a past data. If you have any past data, then and what is your objective? It must be clear. Then accordingly, you go to the supervised or unsupervised or reinforcement learning. So there are certain types of machine learnings, and you have to decide what is your purpose.
Okay, Dharmendra, I think it doesn't matter I am from mathematics or I am from statistics.
No.
Anyone can, each and every person can use machine learning in our life.
Yeah. Actually, it's used for the prediction purpose and forecasting in the long term. If you just put the data and we don't give the command, and it will show the insights. So irrespective, because it is used in all spheres.
Okay, sir. Purnima.
May I ask one question, please?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Dharmendra sir, one question is that for the person of humanities and linguistics, how can they use the machine learning? As you are saying that on the data set they can predict or forecasting something. So please, how the machine learning is helpful for the humanities and linguistics persons?
Yeah. You can say about what is the in linguistic persons, like you have some data about the pronunciation of the any particular language, and on the basis of that we can predict and what will the pronunciation of that person in the future. It can be used in every
And
branch.
like as a person of political science, I think there is a not such kind of data where which we use for the analysis or regarding the
Right.
prediction, forecasting like that.
No. In the politics, the sentiment analysis totally devoted to the political views. Sentiment analysis is nothing.
Oh.
This is totally devoted to the political things. Because on the basis of sentiments of the people, the policymakers or the politician make their slogans. You know, on these now these Facebook, there are so many things are going on. People react them angry, smile, and make love to each other. And this sentiment analysis totally devoted to the politics.
Sir, Purnima wanted to ask how machine learning is useful for astrology. Hello.
Yes.
Purnima is asking how machine learning is useful for astrology.
Okay, in astrology, I think to recognize the pattern of any particular planet for its moving, that what will the pattern of it is like solar ellipse and all these things are running. So on the previous data, on the basis of previous data, we can forecast that how after how many years the solar ellipse will be happened. So how these things can be happened in the astronomy.
Okay, sir. Thank you for such a nice presentation. Ashish, sir,
Anji sir.
are you there also?
Yeah. Sir, can I ask one more questions? Please, participants asking many questions.
Sure.
Yeah. How to use in chemistry, psychology, Hindi? How can we use machine learning in these fields?
Actually, it all depends on your purpose, your research methodology, and your objective.
Okay.
And accordingly, you can find there are so many machine learning techniques are available, and if you want some classify or regression, and on the basis of that data, you can use in your subject area.
So any subject area we can use machine learning.
Yes,
This is
of
not
course.
specific
If you
for
have
any particular subject.
Of course, if you have data, you can use the machine learning. Actually, machine learning is used for the statistics purpose, because everyone cannot deal with the statistics. So this machine learning makes things easier for non-statistician persons.
One more question last. What are some basic question? What are the machine learning benefit?
What are the
machine learning benefits?
There are so many benefits. I have told that without any complex programming, you can directly analyze the data with the vast data. Actually, machine learning handle with the vast data, and it is more useful in all the branches.
One more you have added, I think, Dharmendra sir. It is very useful for non-statistical background people.
Yeah. That's why
they can easily analyze the data using the machine learning. I think.
Yes, of course.
But condition is that they should have past data. Then they will apply the tools, and then they will predict the future about the data.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, there are lots of questions, but we have time constraint about this. So Dharmendra sir, thank you so much for delivering a nice talk. There are lots of comments over this, the nice lecture. And can you please share the PPT for the participants?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they are asking for the same.
Yeah, I will, sir. I will.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much, sir. I hope participants learned basics of the machine learning. And thank you so much, sir. We will associate in future also. Thank you, Dr. Dharmendra.
Thank you so much.